Hey everyone, welcome back to Unbiased Magic Reviews. You're watching a magician review. All right, another month has passed and I've decided that this month's magician review is going to be about Michael Vincent, a very prolific British magician that should be well known to everyone as he's had many television performances. He's created a lot of magic and he's been performing magic for about 40 years now. I think maybe even a little over 40 years. Now, I've been studying and performing his magic myself for about 15 years now. He did win the Magic Circle Close-Up Magician of the Year 3 times, and I think he was the first magician to do that. He's given numerous lectures, and over the years, I've picked up and collected a lot of the products that he has put out. As usual, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background information about Michael Vincent, and then we're going to get into that list of top 10 effects that I think are his best effects that you guys should definitely take a look at. So Michael Vincent was actually born Michael Vincent Lewis. He was born on Valentine's Day, 1964. They say that he became interested in magic around the year 1970 when he saw Ricky Jay, Fred Capps, and Slidini perform on TV. Now, I heard Michael Vincent in many of his lectures talk about how he was influenced when he saw gambling sleights in movies like The Sting and The Cincinnati Kid. But you can also find, even like Harry Lorraine published that in one of his books, that Michael Vincent became interested in magic after he got a Svengali deck. So there's a lot of accounts out there. What does matter is that Michael Vincent took the road of studying the classic magic that exists out there, and he refined his technical mastery, and he's considered to be just a very smooth performer. He performs really close-up parlor with all types of props. You've probably seen him perform with cards, coins, rubber bands, cups and balls. He does the rings. He does pretty much anything that you've seen close up he can do. And in his last Penguin live act, I remember that Dan Harlan introduced him as saying that his sleight of hand was so good that it made everyone else look like they didn't know what they were doing. And I think that this really does focus how we have left our technique by the wayside because people have become lazy and they haven't put in the time necessary to practice the sleight of hand that you should. Now, I always remember this quote by Michael Vincent that I always tell my coworkers, which is, "Fear will betray you long before your technique does." I love that quote by him, and I always tell that to my coworkers, especially when we have to do any kind of procedure, because it is true that fear will betray you long before your technique does, as long as you have put in the time and effort to learn that technique. One unfortunate thing about Michael Vincent that a lot of people are not aware of is that back in 2011, overnight, he lost a lot of his hearing and he became partially deaf, which he currently is still suffering from, unfortunately. There's a lot of magicians that have influenced Michael Vincent over the years, and just to name a few, I mean, most of these are like classic masters like Di Vernon, Larry Jennings, Brother John Hammond, Cy Enfield, Harry Lorraine, Michael Skinner. The list goes on, but you get the idea that he was highly influenced by the classic masters. He has mentioned lots of different classical books that have influenced him, and books that probably we all should read. Some of those books are like The Stars of Magic, Secrets of Brother John Hammond, The Complete Walton, Card College, Royal Road to Card Magic, which he mentions all the time, Classic Magic of Larry Jennings, Inner Secrets of Card Magic by Di Vernon, The Art of Magic, and the list goes on and on. The three main pillars that I think that the magic of Michael Vincent really represents is, one, technical mastery, two, what I call presentational prowess. And what that is more like audience control, And then the third thing is just the structure or the routining of his routines are structured in a way for maximum impact. So those three pillars are really what describe Michael Vincent's magic in general. Now, he himself has actually put out there a lot of information that other magicians don't put out there for people. He actually has published what he considers to be the 6 essential techniques of card magic that you should master to become good at card magic. And this is interesting because these are, to most people, it probably should seem like common sense, but it really is things that it's just interesting to see it through his eyes. So these 6 techniques are, for instance, 1, the control of a card. Like, do you have a good card control? 2, the double lift or the double turnover. 3, the force of a card. 4, the false shuffle. 5, palming, because palming is extremely important. And then the last thing is the top change. So those 6 techniques he feels are absolutely necessary to be good with cards. And I have to agree that those 6 techniques are pretty good. So Michael Vincent published on his blog what he considered to be the top 10 card effects that he performed, and you could see them there. You could see that only 2 of those effects are effects that are his own. All the other effects are effects that belong to other people, but that he performs. And this was his way of recommending card routines to other people. Of note, the effect called the diary, I think this was an effect that was based on a Michael Close idea, and because the effect was basically that you have a diary that has cards written on each date, and you have a spectator tell you the day that they were born or their birthday, and then they select a card, and the card they selected matches the card that's written in the diary. Now, this was an effect that he performed at the Magic Castle, so I don't think that this is something you can actually find, but I think if you read Michael Close's Worker's book, then you can get an idea of how to perform that, because I think that's where he got the general idea from. So that is something else that's pretty interesting there. Now, just touching on Michael Vincent's routining, I would tell you guys that his routining shows some original thought, because just a simple example is when he took Cy Enfield's Aces for Connoisseurs, and what he did was he added the final revelation of Henry Christ's fabulous 4-ace trick. That was just very clever, because what he did was he took Cy Enfield's effect and he just elevated it greatly. So you could see that the routining that he does is just exquisite. So I would highly recommend you guys check out Michael Vincent's material. Now let's get into my list of what I consider to be his top 10 effects. All right, before I get to my list of top 10 effects, I just wanted to mention a notable mention, which was Michael Vincent's Copper Silver routine. He did put it out on his Penguin Live Act, as well as his Rhapsodies in Silver DVD set. It's very simple, direct, hard-hitting. It uses 2 spectators. The coins can be examined before you do the routine, and the main move is based on a move from Daryl. I like it a lot, and for those of you that are looking for a copper silver routine, take a look at it. You may like it. You end clean, which is nice. It's a nice alternative that's available to you. I just mentioned it to you guys as a notable mention. All right, let's take a look at my list of top 10 Michael Vincent effects. Now, keep in mind that this list is compiled from my own experiences from years of learning, practicing, performing these routines. I'm going to try to give you guys an idea of why I think that they're good, as well as like difficulty level and stuff of that nature, as well as a source of where you can learn this stuff. You may not agree with my list here, and that's fine. Just let me know below why you do or you don't agree with it. This list is compiled in increased favor, so as we get closer to number 1, that is my favorite Michael Vincent effect. So starting out at number 10, we have Michael Vincent's wild card routine. Also, his color change is included with that because that is part of his routine. And you probably saw this on his DVD set called The Classic Magic of Michael Vincent. If you picked that up, that I think was his first DVD set he put out with Alakazam Magic, although this also was published in his booklet that was called Close Up Classics. It was a really nice progressive wildcard routine. In the DVD set, he used a signed selection. It's really beginner level. There's no difficult sleights there, and it's very aesthetic visually. I like it a lot. Something you should check out. You might like it, and that's number 10. Moving along to number 9, we have Synergy Plus. This was a prediction type effect that Michael Vincent put out on his Penguin Live act. This effect is actually based on an Ed Marlowe routine. It's a good example of how Michael Vincent has improved on previous existing magic in the literature, because Ed Marlowe had a routine that was called 1 in 52. He published this in his Marlowe and Spades book. Unfortunately, that routine wasn't the greatest, and the reason I say that is because it used some sleights that, it just wasn't a good structured routine. But in it, a card was selected, it was lost, and then the spectator isolates one card randomly. All the other cards are turned face up, and then you go through the deck and show that that's their selection. That's the basic gist of it. Unfortunately, you kind of end dirty, and like I said, it's got like a sleight there that I really didn't care for. But now Michael Vincent's version is just so much better, because the spectator shuffles a deck. The deck is spread out. You explain that you want them to just make a random selection. They do. All the other cards are turned face up and it's spread out. And then you take out another deck and you show them that you turned one card over face down and it matches. That's the basic idea. It feels like a brainwave type effect. The nice thing is that you end clean. There's no gaffes because this is all based on sleight of hand. And as a side effect, there's actually a nice deck switch that's built in. If you want to use it to accomplish a deck switch along with it, you can. You don't have to, but it's just kind of like a nice add-on piece there. In terms of difficulty, this is advanced sleight of hand. So if you're not up to par on your technical mastery, then this is an effect that you may not really want to take a look at. But I would argue that it's a great effect to learn some good sleight of hand. So it's definitely a favorite of mine, and I like it a lot. That's number 9. Moving along to number 8, we have One Shuffle Finale. Now this was the routine that Michael Vincent performed on his televised appearance on Fool Us. You probably remember that triumph-like effect that it ends in the deck being in ace through king, and they're all in suited order. It's a really nice effect. I first saw it actually on his International Magic lecture, and this is like 15 years ago. You could buy this directly from Michael Vincent. I'd say it's intermediate level in terms of difficulty. It's not too difficult, but you do have to have a prepared deck. So it can't be done with just any deck. So you're going to have to carry around a deck just for that effect if you're interested in it. I like it a lot. It's a great effect. It looks visually just looks really beautiful, and that's number 8 on my list. Moving along to number 7, we have Foreplay with Foursome, and this is Michael Vincent's take on an Andrew Wimhurst routine, which was Awesome Foursome, and that actually was a take on a Harry Lorraine routine that was called Foursome. This was put out on his DVD set called Elegant Deceptions. You could see it there and you can learn it. This is advanced sleight of hand. It's definitely not easy to perform. It's an effect that you perform for 2 spectators. They make 2 selections. They're lost in the deck. The deck is shuffled. You, the magician, go through the deck and take out 4 cards face up, and you tell the first spectator that you're going to show them the cards. You're going to have them name the cards, and you're going to watch them to get an idea of what their card is. You turn them face down and you say, I think this is your card. They name their card, they turn it over, it matches, and then just for good measure, now the other 3 cards are the mates to the card that that person selected. Then the cards are turned face down again. You ask the second spectator, you tell them that you're going to find their card, and the selection that the first person had actually turns into the second person's selection. And then as an extra kicker, now the other 3 face down cards are the mates to that second selection. So this has like a double climax to it, and it's a lot of fun. What is interesting is that there was a little issue there, which was what happens if each spectator selects a card of the same value, meaning like if one person selects a 7 and the other one selects a different 7. And they never actually addressed that in Elegant Deceptions, and Michael Vincent finally addressed it in his DVD set called The Quest for Mastery. On the last DVD, he actually goes back and addresses it. So if you are interested in that routine, you may want to take a look at that DVD set as well. It's a really fun routine. I've gotten really big reactions from it, and I like it a lot, which is why I put it at number 7 on my list. Moving along to number 6, we have the Ultra Clean Transposition. This is a very quick, direct, easy to understand card transposition. I first learned it in his book Close Up Classics, but it also was put out on his DVD set called Elegant Deceptions. You can learn it there as well. Let me show you guys what it looks like in my own hands. I would tell you that it's intermediate level. I don't think it's that difficult to perform, and for that reason I'm going to show it to you in my own hands, because I don't just review stuff, I actually perform stuff. So take a look at it. So here's the Ultra Clean Transposition effect of Michael Vincent's, and what I really like about it is that you can do it from a shuffle deck in use, which is great. It could even be like a borrowed deck, which is nice, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to say, look, we're going to use a random card. We'll use this one, which happens to be the 9 of Hearts. It's just a random card, and we're going to leave it just sticking out over here so you can keep an eye on that. Try not to forget that we've got that red 9 over here, because it may be a moment or so before you see it again. We're also going to use this black ace. Also, like I said, try not to forget that the black ace is over here, because it may be a moment or so before you see it. So we've got the black ace over there, and over here we've got that red 9. So try not to forget about it until I do this. And now look, the black ace is now over here, and over here you've got the red 9. So that's what the effect should look like, and you can see it's really simple, no dupes. It's a great little effect. All right, moving along to number 5, we have the Ultimate Travelers. This is Michael Vincent's take on Dai Vernon's Travelers plot, where 4 aces travel to 4 different pockets. That's the basic premise, and over the years Michael Vincent has put out other versions of this on other DVD sets, including the Mushin Travelers, but finally he released the Ultimate Travelers as a standalone item, which you could get directly from his website, where you'll learn the 3-phase routine, which ultimately culminates in all the cards being in 4 different pockets. The last card, the last ace, ends up in the wallet. Now it is interesting to note that another magician that put out another Travelers type routine that used a very similar method was Helder Guimaraes, and he put it out right around the same time on his DVD called The Red Door. So that is interesting, although Helder Guimaraes uses a totally different way of getting into it, because he uses the invisible palm as a precursor to the Traveler's routine, whereas Michael Vincent uses a homing card plot as a precursor, really, to getting into it. But they are very similar. Now, Michael Vincent cites that his direct influence was Tom Stone's effect, Searching for Mr. Fogg. But I just mention it because they're so similar, and they were put out around the same time. I mean, give or take a few years probably. I think this was like around 2010, around that time. In any event, this routine, the Ultimate Travelers, is expert level card magic, and you really need to be up on palming cards, different types of palms, to be able to perform it if you're interested in it. But it's definitely an excellent version of the Travelers if you're looking for a version that you want to learn. I like it a lot. I recommend it to you guys. So something you may want to take a look at. Moving along to number 4, we have Coins Through the Table, another coin routine. This routine you can find on his DVD set, Rhapsodies in Silver, where 4 coins, one at a time, go through the table. Now, Michael Vincent mentioned in Rhapsodies in Silver the source of where he came up with the routine. Unfortunately, I think that that was a little off, because in a different lecture of his, he actually mentioned the real source. And because I actually tracked it down, there was a book that was called like Secrets of Magic by J.G. Thomson Jr. And the last effect in the book is called Presto. And that is the routine that Michael Vincent used as a precursor to this one. What I liked was that he kept all of the convincers and nuances of J.G. Thomson, but he changed the sleights to make them a lot better. Like the first coin, he uses the pop-up move, which I think belongs to Al Schneider. I could be wrong on that, but I think it belongs to Al Schneider. And then he uses like a Hang Peng Cheng move. And then what I really liked was the last coin. The last coin is that instead of the last coin going through the table, all the coins end up going the opposite direction. Now, this routine is like a mega coin routine. If you're into coin magic, you definitely should check this out. I still remember when I performed this for some residents in my residency program. I remember particularly one because he was so impressed by it that he ran, grab some other residents and bring them over and said, "You need to watch this because he just blew my mind." And I remember just how profound the effect was. It's not often you get such an effect out of doing a routine that uses 4 coins, no gimmicks, no gaffes, and just sleight of hand, and that's it. And I would say it's like intermediate level. It's not even that difficult to perform. It's an excellent routine, and it's a good example of how Michael Vincent has structured a routine for maximal impact. Highly recommend that one to you guys, which is why that is number 4 on my list of top 10. Moving along to number 3, we have Brainwave My Way. Now, Michael Vincent put this out on his DVD set called The Classic Magic of Michael Vincent, and it's probably the most well-known routine on that DVD set. And this was a brainwave effect that used just 1 gaff card and sleight of hand, and it looked very impressive. Now, I performed this countless times. I still remember performing this for several attending physicians when I was a resident, and I still remember the reactions I got from them, especially when the card that was taken out of the deck reappears in your pocket or in your wallet. It is an interesting study of just human psychology, because we will always look for something that vanishes until it reappears. Once it reappears, we stop looking for it. And what I really liked about this routine, and what I still like about it a lot, is that the odd-backed card, it loses its meaning once you take out the card that was taken out of the deck. Because you take the odd back card, you put it in your pocket, and now you're like, oh, and the card that I took out of the deck, and you take that out of your pocket, now all emphasis is there. For some reason, the spectator just completely forgets about the odd back card. They don't even care about it anymore. So if you're looking for like a brainwave effect you can perform with a regular deck of cards, where you just need to carry 1 gaff card to be able to do a squeaky clean brainwave type effect that just uses a little bit of sleight of hand, then this is the effect you definitely should take a look at. Difficulty-wise, I'd say it's intermediate level. Definitely something you should take a look at if you like that type of effect. Moving along to number 2, we have Synergy. Now, Synergy is the culmination of different refinements on Michael Vincent's Kismet effect. Now, if you don't remember the Kismet effect is Michael Vincent's take on the double thought plot. That's the famous double thought plot by Al Coran, where one spectator and you each think of a card, and then you're going to each select a card, and you've found each other's cards. That's the basic plot of it. And the nice thing here is that you can see the evolution of the effect, because Michael Vincent first put Kismet on his Classic Magic of Michael Vincent DVD set, and it was okay. It wasn't bad. It was okay. Then he made refinements on that, and he put out those refinements on his Quest for Mastery DVD set. And then finally, he put out this project with Alakazam, which was called Synergy. And by the way, there's other good stuff on there too. And the nice thing here is that he introduces a new sleight, which gets you way ahead of the spectator. You're so far ahead. and it makes it look so much more magical. I really like it a lot. The overall structure of the effect is exactly the same, but it's one of those that's, for me, it's an absolute favorite to perform. I highly recommend it to you guys. And like I said, it's like intermediate level difficulty. It's not that difficult, but you're going to get some good reactions from it. Highly recommend that one to you guys. And that's number 2 on my list. Finally, moving to the number 1 Michael Vincent effect. And this was like a nice, well-guarded secret, which is his routine called a Machiavellian Masterpiece. Now, for me, this is his best effect that he's ever put out there. He published this in his Close-Up Classics, and he did perform it on the Quest for Mastery DVD set. I think it was the last DVD he did perform it there. Now, this is his version or handling of Ed Marlowe's Devilish Miracle routine. Now, several magicians have put out their own handlings on it, and here Michael Vincent has taken some of those other handlings, added his own touches, and he's put out a routine that is just a killer. This is a routine for 2 spectators, where 2 spectators make selections. Each selection is individually placed in the deck. The deck is shuffled each time, so it looks like they're completely lost. You cut the deck and say, let's see how close I got to one of your selections. You deal off the top 5 cards. You show the cards to the spectators, and one of them says, yeah, one of those cards is mine. In continuation, you tell them, I'm going to make your card invisible. You tell them that you made it invisible and you took it out. You now show them that you only have 4 cards and their card's gone, and they haven't told you what their card was, which that's really what makes it strong. In continuation, you tell them, look, I'm going to put your card back in. You pretend to put it back in. Now there's 1 face down card among the other 4, and you tell them, oh yeah, look, this is your card, right? They say, yeah, they confirm that that's their card. And you say, watch this, I'm actually going to take it out again, make it invisible, and throw it in the deck. Now you spread the deck, and there's only 1 backwards card in the deck, and it's their card. You show them that you still only have 4 cards in your hand, and then you tell the second spectator, look, think about your card. I'm going to actually reach in here, take it out, make it invisible, toss it in here, and now you spread those cards that are in your hands, and the only card that's there that's backwards is the second spectator's card. Now, there's so many moments of impact built into the routine that it's just, it's very, very powerful. You have to perform it for 2 spectators to get the feeling yourself, to see how strong this routine it really is. Difficulty-wise, I'd say it's like advanced beginner. It's actually really easy to perform. I think it's probably the easiest routine of Michael Vincent's that I perform regularly, yet it gets maximal impact. And it's not just because you're finding 2 selections, because you're finding selections are vanishing, they're transposing, you're getting all of this stuff all in one routine, and it's all very quick succession, like one right after the other. You know, the main reason I think that Michael Vincent's version is so much better than Ed Marlowe's is because in Ed Marlowe's original version, in his favorite handling, there was a really bad discrepancy there that I never liked, which was that he was using 2 red 4s to do a switch, and you know there's a switch of the 4 and it's open. I never liked that discrepancy, and so this is a good example of how Michael Vincent has taken a classic of magic, improved it, made it stronger, and left it better than how he found it. So this is my number 1 favorite Michael Vincent effect. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. This is my list. If you have any disagreements with my list, feel free to leave me a comment below. I hope I've piqued your interest. I hope that you've enjoyed this month's Magician Review. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, just leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you on the next review.